Hello, and welcome to this week's lecture, which is about understanding the Action Research Project, and will be a bit of a review. If you looked at the syllabus for this week, you'll note that you should be analyzing the data that you collected for your Action Research Project. And so I thought it might be helpful to go through the steps and give you a glint of what's coming up in the next few weeks. It's very important that you listen to this lecture prior to beginning your data coding. To review, your Action Research Project should be relevant to your situation, so in your own school or organization. The specifics are outlined in a file on the course site, Action Research Project Overview, which also contains some important appendices, and I can't emphasize enough how important it is that you have taken the time to read through this. Otherwise, this very important assignment will not be submitted properly. This is worth 35% of your grade, just like the case study. I've told you that you may work on your own or with a partner, but most of you have chosen to work on your own. This has been due in stages, and the final project, which is a PowerPoint, is due on Sunday, May 11th. The research question for this Action Research Project is: what are the perceptions of stakeholders regarding your educational organization? For example, your school or university, that in most of your cases it's your school that you're teaching in. And how may these perceptions guide a plan for the development of a new policy or improvement of an existing policy? So it's basically asking, what do your participants think about your school? What do they know? What don't they know? And what can you come up with in terms of making suggestions about policy and public relations policy? Step one, which you did February 9th to 16th, was to see if your school had a PR plan. And many of you unfortunately reported that they do not. Some of you did locate it and you read it. And so just an understanding of whether or not one exists, and if it does exist, what does it say? Step two, I asked you to identify two participants, one from an internal public group and one from an external public group, and I asked you to collect signed consent forms, and I believe you've all done that. Step three was to conduct the interviews, and if you looked at your syllabus, this was recommended that you do this by March 23rd, to ask these 5 questions. And if you were going to ask different questions, I asked that you approve them, run them by me. In Appendix B, many of you noted up to that document, the Action Research Project Overview, were these questions and a place for you to take notes. Step 5, which many of you are coming up to now, is basically to take those notes from the previous slide, and for each participant, enter them into column A. Now you don't want to do 2 separate codings for the 2 separate participants. You want to do all of what your 2 participants said and code it all together at once. This is from a previous lecture. What I said is put your notes into column A and then highlight the words that have the main ideas. So if your participant said there's too much emphasis on sports, not enough on academics, and therefore I never know when academic competitions are held, kids need both, like the parent nights, but I'm not always sure when they are held. Those quotes, you'll recall, are things that participants actually said. We call those in vivo quotes, or quotes that are living. Parent volunteers know they are always welcome. You should have many more notes than this, but this is just to show you how to code these. You could begin coding the highlighted parts. So too much emphasis on sports might translate in column B. This is called first level coding, as an overemphasis on sports. I never know when academic competitions are held. Kids need both. I translate into unclear schedule academics. They like the parent nights, so that could go under positive parent outreach. Not always sure where they're held, unclear schedule, parent nights. Parent volunteers know they're always welcome, positive parent outreach. So you'll note that there are similarities between the fact that they like the parent nights in the second bullet and they feel welcome. And these could both be classified as positive parent outreach. So now you've got column A, column B. What do you do next? And you try to do what's called collapsing the codes down into distinct categories. Now this is very important, so you'll want to listen closely. In column C, where it says second level coding, you will not have more than 3 to 4 or 5 or at the most 6 categories of codes. So if we look at this, for example, we could collapse this down into unclear scheduling and positive parent outreach. 2 codes, even though they're repeated, there are really only 2 distinct codes. So for example, unclear schedule academics and unclear schedule parent nights, that's all about unclear scheduling. So those could be combined into the term unclear scheduling. Positive parent outreach, well, that's the same thing. Notice overemphasis on sports did not get into a code, and that's okay to leave a few of those column B codes off, as long as they're not too many. You don't want more than a handful. If you have, for example, 30 codes in column B, you don't want to leave more than 4 or 5 off in column C. Everything should be combined so that it's under, again, 2 or 3 to 5 or 6, what we call column C, second level coding. You may hear me refer to that level of coding as themes. So please use the blank coding table in this week's module to code your data and then upload the file as an attachment to your discussion posting. Please feel free to email me if you have any questions or concerns about this assignment.